talk about that to this day.
He has the nicest. He spent more time with you.
Yeah.
I did interviews with you, but he really spent
Yeah.
a day or two with
I know
the
he
two
did.
of you.
Yeah, we really got to
And
know
he just
each
thought
other
you were
well.
both
Well, that's a
two of
kid.
the dearest people.
Rolling on his feet.
That's interesting.
All right.
Very interesting.
Rolling on his feet.
Well, DeForrest, after all these years, we are picking up our friendship again.
We are indeed again, aren't we?
Yes, and what a delightful thing to be able to do it for Star Trek II, because I think that movie's going through the ceiling.
Well, I hope you're right. I think it will, too. I think it's going to be an extremely exciting film, and I'm anxious for it to break loose in the theaters and let everybody really get a good look at it. You know, the way you see it, it's kind of a laid-back audience with the press, and they enjoyed it, but it's really fun to see it in a theater with the people. That's when it's fun. They get swept up with it, you know.
You know, I've always loved the character of Bones, and I love your approach to the role and the way you carry it off. But you get all the funny lines.
Well, I don't know. Well, Bill gets the funny line in this one every now and then. But I enjoy doing it for that reason. I think that it's vital that there be some humor in a situation going on such. I think it kind of lifts it, or, you know, takes the heat off of it a bit. But he's been a joy to play because he's had an opportunity to do some comedy, do some drama, you know, the whole bit. Everything but a musical so far.
Maybe Star Trek III, you'll do a little tap dance.
Possibly. Could be. You never know.
DeForrest, do you think it is strange, though, or have you ever stopped to think about it, that the doctor gets to be the humorous one?
Yes, it is, because I don't really know many funny doctors, do you? I'm sure they're out there, but most of them enjoy. I don't know. I don't mean that. There are a lot of doctors with a lot of. We have a lot of doctors. You know, a closet Trekkies. My internist is a big Star Trek fan, and Carolyn, whom you know, my wife, her doctor is a big Star Trek fan. They admit it in private. So we have a big, and nurses, we have a big medical audience out there.
DeForrest, what is the strangest bit of Trekkie memorabilia or merchandising you've ever seen?
A girl sent me, this was in either the I believe it was the second or third year of Star Trek. I kept it for this particular reason. She sent me a marijuana cigarette that was pasted on a piece of cardboard. And she wrote, "Because you have turned me on so many times, I would like to return the favor. One of your female fans." I still have it. I thought that was an ingenious little gift.
Do you people get any money at all off any of the merchandising that's done on Star Trek?
We have a merchandising clause, but I'm speaking for myself. It really hasn't amounted to that much. I'm not saying there's creative financing there, but who knows? We do. We got a little bit off of the merchandising. And of course, the series, the residuals, have all long since been paid off. We're not getting anything off of the old series at all.
Yes.
We'd all be very rich people if we did.
DeForrest, in between times when you're not working as an actor, is there anything else that you like to do, or do you have any other businesses?
I'm a great housebody, you know. I love my house, and I don't know what I do. I was telling somebody this morning that I can do nothing easier than anybody you've ever seen in your life. I'm a lazy bum, really. But I enjoy my home, and I do a considerable amount of traveling hither and there, as you well know. I have some little private things, business-wise, that are going on that occupy my time. But otherwise, I'm just a pretty lazy guy.
When you're not Bones, you can be content, huh?
That's right, just being DeForrest Kelley.
That's not bad. That's not shabby. DeForrest Kelley is not shabby.
You.
Wanted to ask you also, DeForrest, how you feel about Ed Asner as president of the Screen Actors Guild. Do you think he's a good president?
I don't know. You know, I have tried to, you know, I find that it is so detrimental to an actor to seemingly take any kind of a political stance in this town, that I have divorced myself from the subject. I refuse to take a position on it at this point. I think something, one way or another, will be finalized, and I don't know that what Ed has done has any reflection upon his ability as a president as such at all. But I'm glad that's their problem, his and Charlton Heston's and not mine.
As far as being political, has there ever been a time in your acting career when you have taken a stand and maybe gotten burned?
No. No, I just have never felt that for me that it was a good idea to do it. I know a lot of people do. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't if I felt very strongly about someone. I indeed would, you know, root for them. I think it's everyone's privilege. But in my particular case, I have not stood up for any one particular person, politically or otherwise.
Before you did Star Trek, you played villains, didn't you, son?
Yes.
Who were some, or what kinds of villains did you play?
There's a great number of Western heavies, actually, and a number of, you know, guys that kill you and that sort of thing. Bad cat, you know.
Why did you get into that? Or why did producers and directors get you into that?
I don't know. I'd started with a film called You Are There. I did Gunfight at OK Corral on a documentary thing, and the different studios saw it, and then they called me for another heavy. And I was first brought in, and first as a clean-cut kind of a guy, you know, that wasn't the actual standard heavy. It was very pleasant, but he wouldn't hesitate to kill you in a minute, and that's the way the thing kind of happened.
What do you think they latched on to? Because you're really a lamb. You're just such a gentle person.
Well, I don't know. They saw a snake down there somewhere, I guess. It paid the rent for a long time, I'll tell you that.
Do you think perhaps your voice, do you think you can get a sort of, when you want to, a menacing quality to your voice? Do you think?
Possibly, I don't know, or it's an attitude that you have to assume to, as all actors do. You have to become nasty under a certain situation. You know, you have to get into something you got to get into a hate kind of a thing, you know, rather than doing something else very pleasant.
Getting back to the Trekkie thing, of all you characters, who got or who gets the most mail? Do you know?
Oh, I would think Leonard would. I don't know Leonard's male count. But I would think we all have our fans, you know. There's the medical group, there's the captain's group, and there's the Vulcan group. But I would have to guess that Leonard would be the top drawer of all three of us. But I of course, have no way of knowing that.
Yeah.
I get enough, I know that. I got plenty.
Do you try to ever answer?
Oh, yes. Occasionally there's a letter that comes through that filters in that hits me in a certain way that I feel I just have to answer it. Most of the mail is so literate. It's not your standard fan letter. There's a very brilliant group of people out there that write you, and sometimes you just feel obliged to answer, and I do in certain cases. Of course, I can't answer it all. It's impossible.
Do they sometimes get very critical of the story, saying, this was all wrong, and...
Oh, yes, they're very critical. You know, that's why I'm hopeful of this particular movie. You know, they were highly critical of the first one, and had reason to be in many, many departments. But I feel that this film is going to awaken their juices more so than ever.
What in particular did they object to in the first movie?
They felt that, like we did to a certain degree, that it was ponderous and in places, slow, drawn out, that the relationships were not developed as they should be, that, you know, the humor that you mentioned was really lacking to a great extent, and so were the relationships with Kirk and Spock and McCoy. And I think that's what this film has, that they're very pleased with, at least where it has been previewed in New York and Kansas City, I think.
Is it important, one last question, is it important to keep the Trekkies happy, or do you have to look at the overall
Well,
audience?
they try to look at a broad scope, but they can't ignore the Star Trek fandom because it is so phenomenal, and it's so, as they say in the athletic world, in depth, you know. There's so many of them. that they make up a great audience for this film. So, but naturally, we hope to please those who are not. Maybe we can bring some more Trekkies in.
That's for sure. DeForrest, again, it's just delightful to see you again.
Well, thank you. It's good to see you
and
again.
please give my
too.
best to Carolyn.
I certainly will, and the same to your lovely husband.
Lovely to see you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
All right, now I'll need to do some reverses.
Look at the monitor, please. It's your,
Now, that's too tight. You won't be that tight. Okay. All right. That's okay. All right.
here we go. And rolling
All right.
action.
Reactions first. Okay. Oh, now wait a minute. We're getting some movement in the back. Is it okay? All right. Yeah. Yeah. Just don't get your hand or anything. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. All right, questions. Do you find it strange that the doctor has the funny lines? When you're not acting, DeForrest, what do you like to do? Do you have any other businesses you're involved with? Do you get any money off the merchandising of Star Trek items? What is the strangest bit of Star Trek memorabilia or merchandising you've ever seen? Do you think that Ed Asner is a good president for the Screen Actors Guild? Have you, at one time in your life, perhaps been burned by being political and being outspoken about it? Let's see. There was something else there about the Trekkies. Oh, okay. What in particular did the Trekkies not like about the first movie? Okay. I guess that's it, unless somebody can think of some other question. I guess that'll do it. Yeah. We don't have to have a question for everyone. I just